Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. You don't want to miss any of my updates. Today, I want to give a special shout out to Jennifer Woods. She will be my special guest today, and we will be discussing a good movie today by VC Andrews called Ruby. Thank you guys so much. I'm going to let Jennifer take ahead and go ahead and discuss about the movie. Thank you so much again, Jennifer, for coming onto the channel.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me on your channel, Alfia. I'm so excited to talk about this movie, the first in the Landry series, Ruby. 3 additional movies were made called Pearl in the Mist, All That Glitters, and Hidden Jewel. There was a 5th book in the series called Tarnished Gold that never got made into a movie. As of yet, who knows what the future holds. It was the prequel to the 4 books that came before it. So today we're talking about just Ruby, and it's been a while since I've read the book, so I can't really compare the book versus the movie. The movie opens with a shot of the Louisiana Bay. The movie opens with a shot of the Louisiana Bayou. Bayou. The movie opens with a shot of the Louisiana Bayou. Sorry. Is someone about to find a dead body? No. It's just where Ruby Landry lives with her grandmare Catherine. Her grandmother is a spiritual healer. Ruby also has a grandfather she calls Grandpere Jack. He's into whiskey and lives in his own little swamp shack because his wife isn't impressed with his constant antics. Ruby is an artist, and at her grandmother's craft stand one day, she lucks out and sells several of her paintings to a man who owns a gallery in the city. He gives her a $50 down payment, and she earns commissions off the paintings that sell. Her grandmother tells her to hide the money in a Bible. Ruby has a boyfriend named Paul Tate who comes from money. They've been dating for over a month. Her grandmother doesn't like the two of them being together, and Ruby assumes it's because of Paul's status in society versus hers. She is just a little Cajun girl from a humble background. But actually, it turns out the reason her grandmother doesn't want them together is much more convoluted. I'm about to give spoilers, so heads up. Ruby finds out her mother, Gabrielle, which is spelled Gabriel in the book, for some reason, gave birth to Paul after having an affair with his father, and then gave up her baby son to the father and his wife to raise. So in true ghost-written V.C. Andrews fashion, Ruby and Paul are half-siblings. That's interesting. I would expect them to have the same father and not know it, but the same mother? That's certainly a twist. By the way, Naomi Judd plays the grandmother. I thought she looked familiar. Rest in peace. It's so sad what happened to her. Anyway, Grandmare Catherine soon gets very sick and dies, but before she does, she decides it's time to let all of the secrets out. She tells Ruby that she has a twin sister and father she's never met. Apparently, Mother Gabrielle had another affair with a wealthy married man. This one was named Pierre Dumas, or Pierre Dumbass, as I would say. The no-good grandfather sold Ruby's sister Giselle to Pierre and his wife for $1,000. Just another man who sells off his own flesh and blood for drinking money. He didn't realize that there was another twin on the way, and so the grandmother got to keep one grandchild after all. 1 out of 3 ain't bad. And right in time, too, because Gabrielle dies in childbirth. It reminds me of Heaven's situation a little bit, what with the mother dying in childbirth, and the little girl finding out she has wealthy relatives, and children being sold off by evil patriarchs. So, once Ruby's grandmother dies, she's left alone with Grandpere Jack, who chains her to her bed and insists on marrying her off to an older man named Buster in exchange for more drinking money. Ruby manages to break free and wallops Buster good when he comes into her room to claim his prize. By the way, I don't think there was in the book. Ruby is chained to the bed, and her grandfather does try to sell her off to Buster, but I don't think she wallops Buster on the head in the book, nor does she choke her grandfather in the book. But in the movie, Ruby chokes her grandfather with a chain and runs away, taking with her the money of hers she'd hid in the Bible. In the book, I think she just runs away while her grandfather's passed out drunk. She throws Buster's dirty cash right back at him. She wants nothing to do with it, apparently, and I wouldn't have blamed her if she kept it and put it toward transportation costs or something. By this point, she's also told Paul that they're not related, but in true V.C. Andrews male hero fashion, he doesn't care about that, and he responds by almost having his way with her before the grandfather interrupts them. That happens, of course, sometime before Ruby chokes out Grandpere and then escapes. She goes to New Orleans to find her father and sister. Her father accepts her immediately, but her stepmother, Daphne, is the typical V.C. Andrews maternal figure. Cold, superficial, spiteful, and jealous. Pierre wants to keep Ruby for his very own, but Daphne wants her to just go away. When she loses this battle, she concocts a fake narrative to explain the appearance of the second daughter. She tells Ruby that from this day forward, she is their child who was stolen at birth and has now been miraculously returned to them. The family just never bothered to mention to anyone before that they had a missing daughter. Hopefully people won't think that's strange. This kidnapped baby, being returned years later, by the way, appears to be an homage to the Cutler series that came before it. In that family saga, Dawn Longchamp learns that she was kidnapped by the man and woman who raised her and that she comes from a wealthy family who owns a hotel. She also learns that her new boyfriend is actually her long-lost brother, so the ghostwriter really does have certain plots that he recycles over and over, or at least he did in the 90s. I haven't read his newer stuff. Anyway, Ruby is not comfortable with this little lie that her stepmother has spun. Daphne says she can then just keep her mouth shut and say nothing when people question her about her past. In the book, it's Pierre who comes up with this false narrative. Ruby's twin sister Giselle has been spoiled rotten by her upbringing, and she clearly resents this swamp sibling who's been dropped on her doorstep. She pretends to be friendly at times, but even then it's clear she's being passive-aggressive. She also can be really vicious. At a sleepover party, which reminds me of a scene from Grease, it takes place in the 50s, Giselle and some other girls snap a photo of Ruby getting changed in the bathroom and then show the picture around school. Daphne, of course, blames Ruby for the photo. Giselle tells her parents that Ruby knows a prostitute, but it's just some woman named Annie that Ruby met in passing while traveling to New Orleans. She and her sister happened to run into Annie in the city, and Annie recognized Ruby and called out to her. So, of course, this is something that absolutely embarrasses Daphne, the idea that her daughter could know a prostitute. Pierre sides with Ruby, but Daphne always sides with Giselle. I'm really not sure why Daphne would side with either of them, since they both came from her husband's scandalous love affair, but whatever. Beau is Giselle's boyfriend. When Ruby meets him upon arriving at the Dumas house for the first time, he thinks she's her twin sister. He doesn't even know that Giselle has a twin sister at that point, of course, so he's the one who basically introduces her to the family when Ruby tells him who she is. Beau ends up falling for her. They have a few make-out scenes. Ruby starts to paint him naked at one point, but Daphne interrupts them. Giselle thinks Beau only wants Ruby because she's from the bayou, and he assumes she's promiscuous, but that doesn't seem to be true. He does move fast at times, but he respects Ruby's wishes when she asks him to stop. Who knows how long that will last? I can't remember much of the later movies. The Dumas' family cook is named Nina. She's into black magic. At one point, she takes Ruby to Mama Didi, who is a voodoo priestess, because Ruby is angry at Giselle for tormenting her at school. Through the priestess, Ruby casts a spell, and not long after, Giselle and her new boyfriend Martin are in a car wreck. Martin dies, and Giselle is seriously injured. It's weird how Ruby finds out about the crash. She's upstairs in her room and hears crying coming from the downstairs. She finds Pierre and Daphne sobbing on the couch. They inform her that her sister has been badly injured. So why are they sitting there crying about it? Why aren't they at the hospital? Why didn't they come upstairs to get Ruby so they could all go to the hospital together? Ruby does go to visit Giselle at the hospital. Oddly, her parents are not there with her. Maybe they're in the waiting room, giving her a little privacy. She needs a little privacy because she decides this is a good opportunity to confess to Giselle that she caused the accident by casting a voodoo spell on her. Now, why would she go and do that? Confess, I mean. I understand the voodoo spell, but no need to tell Giselle all the dirty details. Of course, this does not endear Giselle to her twin sister. Did we expect it would? Daphne asks Ruby if she will go with her to visit Pierre's brother Jean in a mental institution. He has brain damage after an accident that he was in years before, which apparently Pierre was responsible for, we learn later. Typical VC Andrews. Everyone is getting into accidents and suffering lifelong consequences of it. Ruby gladly agrees to visit Uncle Jean, not realizing it's a trick. Daphne has brought her to the institution to be committed for nymphomania. I mentioned earlier, this takes place around the 50s. Ruby does come across Uncle Jean in some community room. She figures it's him because she was told by Giselle, I believe, that he was the best dressed man there. So she sees a man who is well dressed and just assumes that it's him. But John freaks out when Ruby tells her who she is. And then another patient is like, yeah, I forgot to tell you, you don't want to talk to that guy. The same patient tells Ruby that there's a way to escape if she's interested. And boy, is she ever interested. She breaks out of the institution and hitchhikes home only to crash her mother's little tea party and announce to the guests that she's had a tough day after escaping the loony bin her mother sent her to. This has got to be my favorite scene of the movie. Pure gold. Not quite on the same level as Kathy crashing her mother's Christmas ball and Petals on the Wind. More of a low-key version of it, but that low-key quality almost makes it better in its own way. Anyway, Daphne and Ruby have it out. Ruby really gives her stepmother a piece of her mind. She doesn't even care anymore what Daphne thinks, and Pierre shows up and sides with Ruby as always. She really lucked out. Usually VC Andrews' fathers aren't this pleasant and agreeable. Pierre decides that Giselle will go to boarding school, figuring it will be better for her than public school. He wants Ruby to attend as well so that she can look out for her sister. Ruby says she'll think about it. Pierre, as always, accepts that answer and shows patience and respect for this daughter he didn't know existed up until recently. Paul makes a surprise appearance at the Dumas house. Ruby is thrilled to introduce him to his sister Giselle. Giselle is not quite as thrilled to discover she has not just a swamp sister, but also a swamp brother. And that is how this first movie ends. I have to say, I think it was overall really well done. Some of the acting could have been better. It was stiff at times, but overall I enjoyed the drama and intrigue. I liked the touch of black magic. And Nina the cook, who takes Ruby under her wing. Nina knows what kind of girl Giselle is, and clearly feels she should be punished. I would give this movie a 4 out of 5, and I'm grading it on a curve. For VC Andrews movies, it's really good. Thanks again for having me, Alfia. That's all I've got today.
So, I left your review. Thank you so much, Jennifer. What can I say, y'all? Ruby was an eye-opener. Can you just imagine going your life and you never knew like you had a twin, and your grandmother tells you on her deathbed that, hey, you have a sister out there, and you're looking like, I got a what? You got a twin sister, because your grandfather sold your sister just like he sold your brother, which was your boyfriend, and you was wondering why your grandmother wouldn't let you date him. And I felt so bad for Ruby because she wants to go live with her father. Her father was just like a really nice guy in the movie. I wonder what he was like in the book, because her stepmother was a woman from hell. Like, she really did bad things to Ruby. And her sister Giselle was just jealous of her. They look just alike. And I like how she showed up at her dad's house, and the gentleman thought that she was he thought that Giselle was playing tricks, and she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it was just like, wow. And I'm gonna go ahead and say I haven't watched the rest of the series, but I really did enjoy Ruby. I'll give it a 10 out of 10 because it was really a good movie. Ruby actually went through a lot. I mean, her grandmother was nice to her, and her grandfather tried to sell her to a man so she could marry him. And she was just, it was just like really, really sad. Her grandmother had her hide the money in the Bible. And I've seen that before because my mom has hid money in the Bible when we was little. And some people in my family have done it too. Even though she went to go see a fortune teller, Mama D, and she put a hex on her sister Giselle because Giselle was just so jealous of her. And her stepmother took her to the nut hospital because her uncle was in the nut hospital because her father was jealous of the uncle, which was his brother. And he caused him to be the way he was. And she went and sat with him at the nut hospital. And one of the guys in the nut hospital told her how to get out. She got out, escaped, went back home, and she popped up where her stepmother was having a gathering or whatever. And because she told her she was going to go see her uncle because Giselle didn't feel like going to go see him or whatever. So she went to go see him. And I'm going to go ahead and say, I wonder what possessed Ruby to tell her sister, hey, I'm the reason why you're in an accident. Giselle's like, no, you're not. And then she told her what happened. And Giselle's like, leave me alone. And then it was just, y'all, this movie was like really, really good. Like, because at first, okay, after her grandmother passed, which was really, really sad, and her grandfather was a drunk or whatever, and he stayed the night at the house with her, and then he chained her to the bed. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he's trying to sell her. And the guy didn't even want to give him the money, all the money or whatever. And I felt so bad for Ruby. Ruby went through a lot. But all in all, she got a better life. Even though Ruby was never selfish, and she got a whole bunch of clothes or whatever, and then Giselle was taking some stuff. But it was just, this movie was really, really, really good. Like, what else can I say about Ruby? I want to see what happens because, Giselle got into a bad accident because she went to go see Mama D, and she put a hex on her, and she was confined to a wheelchair. And there's more movies to this first one, and there's books to it too, and I want to read the books and watch the movies because always comparing the movies and the books is like two different things, because I'm reading a book now that I watched the movie for, and I love the movie, and it's nothing like it, and I wonder why they didn't do it by the book, but I will deep dive into that. But Jennifer, I loved your review. Thank you so much for coming onto my channel, and thank you so much for letting me be on your channel. If you haven't already, please like, share, and subscribe to Jennifer's channel, and of course my channel. But of course, go show Jennifer some love. She is killing it over there. She is doing those reviews on VC Andrews. She has did Face on the Milk Carton. She has did A Killer Among Friends. She has done so much. You need to go check her channel out. She did some breakdowns on VC Andrews too, and I look forward to her collaborating with her and working with her. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Have a wonderful day, you guys. All right, thanks.